Large letters on the front form a title, Wiraal. The colorful box is illustrated with bucolic vistas. The cover art also features odd-looking humanoids, some short, some taller, some with pointy ears, others with ephemeral wings. Text underneath the title in smaller typeface reads, 3rd edition, Mega Setting Supplements Module. The side panel adds, a sword and sorcery adventure board game with new maps and miniatures. Mysterious things rattle inside. What could they be? Dice? Plastic miniatures? A fantastical alternate world full of magic and wonder? None of that witless man from Heimdall fascist dross, hidden behind faux realistic allegory. Wiraal is no cliché-ridden apologia for colonial violence. Wiraal is pure imagination. It's not. It's for pansies. The man from Heimdall is way more awesome. A blurb on the back reads, tired of the tedium and toil of modern life? Escape to Wiraal. Leave behind Isolas and nations with their petty squabbles. Discard electricity, magnets, and boring technological widgets. Succumb to a world of high pasternal fantastique. Unleash your imagination and create an adventure of endless possibilities. Discover the terrible secret threatening Wiraal. Can your band of adventurers save the world? Exactly. That's the spirit. All you have to do is read an intricate rulebook, study an assortment of maps, unfold the illustrated game board, and start rolling dice. In no time, you could be romping through grasslands with low-level characters, hunted by Iskala riders, or battling unspeakable monsters in endless dungeons fraught with danger and despair, conjuring up forceful magics to aid your quest. Don't forget heated arguments escalate into physical confrontation with your friends. And most importantly, never forget to rage quit if the dice don't go your way. You pry open the box. Inside you find a folded up map, a small booklet, a 24-sided die, and a little plastic figurine. A reprint of a crude hand-drawn map. The top left corner reads, Lands of Wiraal. The map features both small villages and mid-sized towns with odd names, in addition to meadows, forests, hills, lakes and seas, also with odd names. It doesn't seem to correspond with anything you've seen thus far. It's not a very helpful map. A quick guide to the magical races of Wiraal. Create your own hero, choosing from any of these completely unique and fantastical backgrounds. The options are in order of importance: the Welkin, the Tweog, the humans, the fairy folk, and the pygmies. The Welkin, tall, lithe, and graceful, with long flowing hair and pointy ears. They're known for being powerful magic users, but can also hold their own in a brawn-driven fight. The Welkin come with a variety of exciting sub-races: High Welkin, Forest Welkin, Lake Welkin, and Snow Welkin. But if you're not feeling experimental, a basic Welkin will always do. A grand race of industrious mountain people. They're short, stout, and muscular, and enjoy digging for gold and other precious minerals. They're also well versed in the art of combat, where they prefer to use axes and hammers. The Tweog also come in a few different sub-races: Hill Tweog, Shield Tweog, and Dark Tweog. They're just humans. What else is there to tell? They're average in all stats, and jacks of all trades. A very small race of flying people, known for being mischievous, full of trickery. They often lure people into their magical traps. There are no sub-races for the fairies. The least popular of the Wirral races, the Pygmies, are short, rotund, and dim-witted. Pygmies live in small villages made of shoddy wooden dwellings. They spend most of their days tilling the earth and smoking their pipes. There are no sub-races for the Pygmies. It's made from some sort of wood and has been decorated with peculiar plant motifs. You don't know much about dice, but this one looks pretty damn fancy. You place the die into your pocket. It's always good to have luck on your side. You see a man in ragged clothes wearing a lopsided hat and wielding some sort of a firearm.
Interesting. A communard. A communard, one of the leftist revolutionaries in the anti-centennial revolution. It is not. The communards are not a part of the game setting. I guess someone misplaced it during the packaging process. I have a feeling the figurines are more there to set the scene than anything else.
You pick the figurine up by the base to meet your gaze. The little plastic man stares back at you, his face contorted into a disturbing shout. Then you pocket it. A colorful box with the title, Wirral, in bold letters. It's a board game. In your hands, you hold a brand new copy of the game, Sooza Renti. It's snugly wrapped in a skin of plastic. The cover features a charming illustration depicting a mass of grinning laborers loading goods onto a ship, while a richly dressed administrator oversees their work. The exact location and time period are left deliberately vague, but it's clearly meant to represent the economic relationship between the Revacholian suzerainty and its many vassals. The box has a nice heft to it. You hear the rattle of individual wooden tokens and feel their weight shifting back and forth. What treasures wait in store for you? Even before you open it, you can tell that this will be a meaty game of grand strategy and complex player interactions. The plastic wrap rips off as easily as a bodice in a tawdry historical romance. There's a hiss as the lid slides off. Inside, you find a thick, full-color rulebook and more than a dozen pouches of various wooden components. Savor that new board game smell. A mix of wood, paper, and ink, all wrapped in the sweet must of cardboard. Welcome to Suzerainty, a game of economic strategy for the whole family. The rulebook is sumptuously illustrated and thick as a Gradian novel. The colorful illustrations depict cheerful workers picking apricots, hauling marble sculptures out of crumbling temples, and harvesting a strange magenta-leafed plant. Everyone is smiling. You begin to suspect there may be a political agenda to this so-called family game. Only one way to find out. The instructions are opaque at first and introduce many concepts you're not familiar with. Fortunately, there are many diagrams and examples throughout. You soon figure out the basic conceit. Each player represents an administrator for the suzerain of Revachol. Your objective is to increase the suzerain's wealth and renown by accumulating victory points. That's where the suzerain's vassals come in. The game features 4 vassal nations, each one home to an economically important resource. Each turn, the player collects resources from vassals where they've placed workers. They may then rearrange their workers, fulfill contracts for coin and bonuses, or build structures back in Revachol. As you leaf through the pages, your eye catches on a sidebar labeled Advice for Beginners. Remember, there are many paths to victory in suzerainty, but successful players will find one strategy and commit to it wholeheartedly. The actual scoring system appears infinitely complex, with a series of tables and appendices required to compute each player's final victory point total. You skip that part for now. You open up a number of pouches containing wooden tokens. There are also several punch boards with other cardboard components that will need to be punched out before you can play. Each cardboard token makes a satisfying ch as you pop it out. Soon, a neat pile of cardboard coins and counters has accumulated before you.
What? You're not going to offer to let me punch any of them out?
In addition to the worker and building tokens used by each player, there are also several piles of colorful resource tokens, each representing one of the game's 4 principal resources. From the Empire of Safre, orange apricot tokens. From Ilmarat, the ancestral name of Ilmara, gray marble block tokens. From the Semenine Islands, white sacks of sugar tokens. And from Supramuindi and Sarah Maritza, magenta tokens for unprocessed cocaine leaves.
Oh, those are nice.
You hold the open game box before you. The lieutenant looks over the rulebook before he sees something that makes his eyes go wide.
Holy shit! The average playing time for this game is 1 to 6 hours. I'm not sure we can afford to set aside that kind of time for a game.
What is detective work if not an elaborate game? You need logical inference, attention to detail, the ability to analyze your opponent's motives.
I do feel like my thinking has become somewhat rigid. Maybe a little diversion to keep the mind limber is just what's in order.
See? He's doing the hard work himself. All he needed was a little nudge.
Alright, you've convinced me. How do we play?
You explain the basic setup procedures to the lieutenant, who seems to be a quick study. You each take your bag of tokens and counters and unfold the board between you. In the center is the crown of Revachon. Radiating outward are her colorful vessels, each one supplying some raw material desired by the suzerain. Apricots from Safre, archaeological treasures from Ilmarat, sugars from the Seminine Islands, and magenta cocaine from Supra Muindi and Sarah Maritza. There's also a neat little log to keep track of your progress in case you need to put the game away and return to it later. The lieutenant goes first. He draws a contract card and moves several of his workers to the Safre territory of the board, and the others to the Seminine Islands.
All right, detective, your turn.
You have a few options available to you. Will you try to fulfill contracts right away or rearrange your workers to maximize production on future turns? Remember what the rulebook said. You'll want to choose a strategy early on and stay committed to it. What is the very beginning of the game? Your workers haven't even done any work yet. That's more like it. You produce a handful of archaeological treasures and a smattering of other resources. Meanwhile, the lieutenant spends 2 of his sugar and 1 of his apricot tokens to complete his contract card. He is rewarded with 4 coins and a round wooden token that he places in the center of the board.
That's a market. It's worth 2 victory points. Don't worry, it was mostly just luck. You'll earn some points soon enough.
What is that patronizing tone? You're one of the suzerain's trusted administrators. You may need to put the lieutenant in his place.
Points are nothing. They don't exist. They're just an arbitrary convention that games use to reward or punish players for certain behaviors.
If points are really arbitrary, as the lieutenant says, what's to stop you from playing the game the way you want?
Game designers, I imagine? There are some paranoid types who believe the moral intern keeps detailed score sheets for everyone in the Real Belt, but that's obviously nonsense. Otherwise, no. There are no points, just your actions and the consequences of those actions.
Just like there are no honor points, none whatsoever.
That's just the way it is. Now, I believe it's your turn.
Glancing over the board, you see several possible strategies. Pressing more workers into service would increase your economic output and help you to survive a possible conflict with the lieutenant. Or you could ignore your labor supply and focus on fulfilling contracts for points and resources. Those aren't your only options. You could also show your workers how much you appreciate them by investing some of that wealth in them. After all, they're the ones producing wealth for the suzerain. Well, sure, you can do that. It's just not a terribly effective strategy, but then it's up to you. To the lieutenant's puzzlement, you spend several turns building various improvements to your territorial infrastructure. Soon, your workers have access to clean water, paved roads, and basic hobbies. In return, they produce one extra resource per turn.
Too bad investing in your workers just isn't worth many points. Take a look at the scoring tables in the back. You see in Table 8C that investing in territorial infrastructure multiplies your final victory point total by 1, which is to say not at all. Whereas erecting monuments in Revachol gives you a multiplier of 5. Yes, precisely.
Nonsense. Remember what the lieutenant said. If points are arbitrary, who cares about winning? You should reject their system and just play how you want. Now it's the lieutenant's turn to respond. He moves aggressively onto the Safre territory. Soon, his workers are producing a steady supply of extremely valuable apricots. For several turns, you struggle to respond to the lieutenant's burgeoning apricot empire. Eventually, you relocate the majority of your workers to Supremawindi and Saramaritsa, where they begin producing a bumper crop of cocaine tokens. You draw a new contract card. According to the text, there's an aristocrat willing to trade a large supply of cocaine for a number of coins and access to a rare bonus. Amplified music worth 7 victory points. You know, this isn't unlike the situation the historical Revacholian suzerainty faced in Safre in the middle of the last century. Well, the suzerain was looking for new markets for all the cocaine it was producing, and it settled on Safre. By introducing cocaine into Safre under exclusive contract, the suzerain created an extremely valuable captive market for an extremely addictive product. If you could somehow get the lieutenant's workers addicted to your cocaine, you could not only make them less productive, you would also force the lieutenant to pay you for your cocaine tokens each turn. Yes, you can. It's right there in the rules. Now's your chance. Show the lieutenant what happens when he patronizes you. You've reached a critical strategic juncture. How do you respond to the lieutenant's aggression? Instead of focusing on amassing points, you embark on a quixotic project to win the hearts of your worker tokens. After several turns, you've unlocked advanced hobbies and health insurance. Your workers now produce an extra 2 resources per turn.
You do realize the game is called Suzerainty and not Workers' Paradise, right? I don't think the suzerain cares much about the welfare of its workers. Here, watch this.
The lieutenant continues his strategy of aggressively producing apricots for export. He fulfills contract after contract, racking up ever more victory points. The end game is upon you. What will be your crowning achievement as the suzerain's territorial administrator? You could continue your efforts to win the hearts of your worker tokens by building the rarely attempted public education system for your territories. Alternatively, you could actually try to win the game by building the extremely valuable victory column in Revachol, or by crushing the lieutenant in a devastating trade war. The choice is yours. Your commitment to doing right by your workers pays off, and you manage to construct the rarely attempted public education system. You truly have the best educated worker tokens in the entire world. Unfortunately, you were sent to the territories to produce raw resources, not overly educated second-class citizens. If anything, this might negatively impact your final score.
See? I warned you investing in your workers wasn't going to pay off. Noble as that sentiment may be, it's not exactly a winning strategy in a game that revolves around resource extraction and exploitation. Now, let's tally up the scores, shall we?
Computing the final scores is almost a game unto itself. You each spend an inordinate amount of time making stacks of coins, consulting tables, and struggling with basic addition and multiplication. After double, then triple checking your maths, you have your final score. 2 points. Though you're beloved by your well-educated worker tokens, the suzerain is immensely displeased and recalls you from your post.
I've got 20 points. Hey, at least you went out playing the game how you wanted. There's something to be said for that. Now let's clean up and get back to work.
You hold the open game box before you. Cleaning out the rooms. What if you didn't lose your memory? What if something in Martinez came and stored it all away, for you to slowly open one box at a time, so you can choose which parts to keep? Keep almost none of it. Only the flowers on the windowsill, only the distant sound of a radio. Lose all the actors, the dark shadows, leave only the still lifes, the blissful distant wash of waves. If everybody knew, you never did. She'll be coming soon. That is all. Wait. Take a longer look at yourself and how you're reflected in that slick chemical rainbow. What do you see? Metaphor. It's always metaphor. This is more important than you. That's the blood of industry you see before you. The runoff from Coal City, further down the coast. The engines of fortune once roared here. Great wealth poured into Revachol, the Delta, as did smoke, waste, sickness, life. The engines stopped. The West Revacholian industrial base was dismantled after the war. Now, extinguished coke furnaces dot the landscape, a landscape despoiled by industry. Yes, fortune left you too, leaving only pharmaceuticals and a subpar service-based industry.
It's getting cold, this late in the night. Time to call it a day.
Good night, officer. We'll meet in front of the shack in the morning.
The bed is comforting, if a bit run down. Still, you've earned a rest.
The place feels almost like home now, quiet and dignified around you. A new life by the seaside. You're incredibly tired. The darkness and warmth come fast. You're falling asleep.
It's easier this time. Drifting off, your head has found a comfortable indent in the pillow. Your legs and your torso feel like lead weights sinking to the bottom of the sea until they're suddenly light.
Blackness, blackness, blackness. The ultimate disco. The ruins of your life behind you. Still smoldering. Ashes rise. But you're not looking.
For now, a little while, you can. When the pictograms and the hieroglyphs of the world return, they seem silent somehow. The alarm rings quietly too. You're ready.
Inside, you see a set of steering levers, a radio microphone. In the cabin, you see a set. A mirror hangs on the bathroom wall. In your face adorned with expression.
A mirror hangs on the bathroom wall. In it, your face. The faucet is quite terribly mangled, but you just might be able to twist its parts into place. You handle the chain cutters deftly, applying just enough pressure. The faucet regains a recognizable shape. The steam stops. Told you that you needed those chain cutters. Everything is connected. Everything has a purpose. The mirror begins to clear slowly without you having to wipe it. A mirror hangs on the bathroom wall. It's barely covered in steam. It's like something snaps in you. A nerve ending. A thought. A sadness. Your face in the mirror is suddenly clean of the layer that had distorted it for God knows how long. Just like that, it's over. The running gag that your life had become. A sad old man looks back at you.